like explain the summary of a clinical trial, so you have to have idea before this, okay, because this is our just a summary of a clinical trial, and just I try to make it easy as possible. So I'm talking about the Declaration of Helsinki. The Declaration of Helsinki, it was in a 1964. Okay, so it was organized by the World Medical Association or organization, something like that. So the Declaration of Helsinki, it's in 1964, and I'm talking about the responsibilities of the Declaration of Helsinki, something that is related to the patient, which is the most important thing, and that's why they are just held it. And the other thing is a protocol, so there is a point that is related to the protocol and some that is related to the treatment or the drug. So these are the responsibility of the Declaration of Helsinki, which is 1964. The first one is a patient protection of the participants. We should protect the participants. The benefits should be more than the risk, and the full informed consent. As you can see here, the 3 points, the same that is present also in good clinical practice E6. We see the same thing. Okay, benefits should be more than the risk. The right, the safety, the well-being, freely giving informed consent, the same thing that is related to the subjects of the GCP. So the same points that we discussed is before. So that is related to the patients. What is related to the protocol, the clinical trial should adherence to the approval, and the protocol itself, it should be adherence to the guidelines of the Helsinki, and the publishing of the findings. Okay, so the publishing of the findings is also important. What is related to the treatment is how to use the placebo and the post-trial access to the treatment. That means the subjects, the other things, they have the right to access to the treatment after the trial is finished. Okay, so these are the responsibility of the Declaration of Helsinki. The Declaration Helsinki was held in 1964, and that is happened by the World Medical Association. The other thing that we should know about the Declaration of Helsinki, the responsibilities. So the responsibilities related to the subject, which is the main purpose, some that is related to the treatment, and some that is related to the protocol. So that is related to the 3 elements. That's how we can just, memorize these things. So what is related to the subjects, the benefits should be more than the risk, protection of the subjects, and the freely informed consent. Okay, and then what is related to the protocol should be adherence to the protocol, should be adherence also to the guidelines of the Helsinki. The protocol itself should be adherence to the guidelines of the Helsinki, and the protocol itself, like the activities and the practices that is happening in the clinical trial, should be adherence to this protocol, and the publishing of the results should be in a standards measure. Okay, just we didn't publishing only the positive results, we have to publishing all the things. That's to avoid the publication bias, as I said before. And then what is related to the treatment, post trial access to the records and to the treatment. The other thing that is a placebo. Okay, then we have another regulation, and that's so important, which they are called IRP, and IRP, that's mean institutional review board, institutional review board, and the other one is IEC, that's mean independent ethics committees. These are the most important regulations we are talking about. The responsibilities of these regulation, that is related to the subjects, related to the protocol, the same thing. Okay, and the other thing, evaluation of the documents, like evaluate the documents, and reviewing the timeline. I said that I do these things just to how to memorize this stuff as soon as possible. So that's the something that is related to the subject, safeguarding of the rights of the subjects. That's so important. The rights, the well-being, their safety of these patients. That's not only according to their rights, but the other things. So safeguarding of the rights of the subjects. As I said here, protocol, review the study progress at least once a year. Like review the protocol and review how this study progress, how these things are progressing during the time, at least once a year. That's mean the least number of the visits and the least the numbers of the reviews, it will be once a year, but it could be more. Okay, and reviewing the timeline of the protocol. So it's important also to review the timeline of the protocol. Why is it evaluation of the documents? Which documents? This is the questions that IRB-IEC evaluate, because they have the evaluated documents. The first one is the study protocol, not the study protocol as you can see, but also amendments. Any changes that is happened to the protocol, they should check it and evaluate it. Investigator brochure. We said about the investigator brochure, it's important also to review it, like the all the informations about the clinical product, about the investigation of the product. Investigator qualification, they should evaluate also the qualification, even because it's selected by the sponsors, as we said. Also the documents evaluated by them. Informed consent documents, for sure, if they are just see the protocol, the amendments approved, so they should have seen the informed consent also. The subjects compensation plans, all the information about the subjects and the compensation plans, like if he injured, if he just have like a side effects, what your compensation plans, they just review it. If there is adverse events, also reviewed by the ARP, because we said the investigator maybe see adverse event, he should tell directly maybe the IRB IEC or tell the sponsors, it will be better. And the protocol deviation, as you can see, protocol deviation, it's differ from amendments. That's because the deviation sometimes because more horrific, to be honest, when I said deviation. Okay, so all these documents should be reviewed by the IRB IEC. So which documents evaluated by RBI IEC? Study protocol and amendments, investigator brochure, investigator qualifications, also informed consent document, the subject and the compensation plan, adverse events, protocol deviation. So to have to memorize it, everything that is related to the protocol, like a protocol, amendments, deviation that is related to the protocol, and the investigator, like investigator brochure, investigator qualification, what is related to the subject, this stuff like subject compensation, informed consent documents, and adverse events, we can say that is related also to the subjects. So this is only one responsibility of the IRB IEC, evaluation of these documents, but they have to review the timeline, they also have to review the study progress, that's so important, at least once a year. And also the most important responsibilities, and that's why the Declaration of Helsinki and IRB and all this regulation, they just for the subjects, because many things happen that they are not legal at all, happens before that's why this regulation were held actually. So again, what are the responsibility of IRB IEC? The first one is safeguarding of the rights of the subjects, the safety, the well-being, the rights of these subjects. The other thing is the evaluate everything. It's evaluation, it's evaluate the progress of the study at least once a year. The other thing, reviewing the timeline of the protocol. The other thing, also evaluating the documents. And the question, which documents IRB or IEC evaluate? The first one, study protocol, amendments, protocol deviation, and what is related to the investigator brochure, and investigator qualifications, what is related to the subject itself, compensation plans, informed consent, and the adverse events. And by this way, we can just memorize what are the responsibilities of IRB IEC. What are the responsibilities of Declaration of Helsinki? So what is related to the patients, the same that is for the GCP also, and also that is related to the protocol, adherence to the protocol, publishing of the results, and some adherence to the treatment, like the first one is a placebo and the post-trial access to the treatment. So we finish this paper. We go ahead to the protocol because we are just keeping saying protocol, protocol. What is a protocol? Actually, this I just recommend. This is our protocol, and this is the the list of the components of the protocol. This is the questions is what are the components of the protocol? The first one is general information and the background information. The first one, it contains general information and it contains background information. For sure, it contains information, maybe clinical or non-clinical, all the information. It contains the trial objectives, trial purpose, and the trial design. It should be for sure these things should be done or present. The first one is the trial objectives, like what are the points that it should be present in the trial. So we can say trial objectives, what is the purpose of the protocol, and what is the design of the protocol, because we describes in the last summary what is the component of the design, and we said that is allocation, randomization, what is the intervention mood, and also the control. We said also the blinding and masking, study population, and outcome measures. They are the component of the trial design. They should be focus of that. And how the patient, how the subjects, we can say now patient, the subjects, the selection and their withdrawal, what is the treatment, what is the assessment of efficacy and safety, statics for sure, direct access to the source data and documents, because we have to make sure about these things. I explained before what is the difference between equality control and equality assurance. It should be ethics, data handling and record keeping, financing and insurance, publication policy, and supplements. All these, we can say, they are the components of the protocol. So it contains general information and background information, the trial design, the trial purpose, the trial objectives, and then we talk about the subject, the treatment of the subjects, selection of them, withdrawal of the subjects, informed consent, it's a part of it also. Assessment of efficacy and safety, statics, quality assurance and quality control, direct access to the source data, ethics, data handling, financing, publication policy, and supplement. These are the components of the protocol. As you see here, how is like we conduct the study. So the first one, there is a trial setup, then we do the conduct, then we do the close out. And who is responsible for the conduct of the trial? Investigator. So the investigator responsible for the conduct of the trial, but who set up is the sponsor. Sponsor is responsible for the trial setup, so it's responsible for the site selection and site activation, because that's really important. So so when I said site selection and site activation, that's mean these are under the point of the trial setup, like what are the phases of the trial, not the first phases that I'm talking about, but actually they are just the data flow, so it will start as a trial setup and then conduct and then a close out. The trial setup is about the site selection and site activation, like what is the best site for our goal, our purpose of this study. That is the selection. And then we go to the activations, how we activate this site. The first one is IT and the drug supply trading. It should contain IT supply, and I mean about the IT, like technologies and these things. And the other thing is a drug supply. We should train the subjects, train the staff that is responsible for that, and then contract with the site team that is responsible for this, and then we should approval by the health authorities and institutional review board. We should take approval. And if we do these three stuff, that's mean we do activation for the site. The selection of the site, I think the responsibilities of the sponsors, because we said that before, this is our responsibilities of the sponsors, as you can see here. I'm not mentioning like that, but he's responsible for the site selection. But you know, it's not the only person. That's why we do that. He's responsible for the trial design, the management, the handling, the keeping, everything. So he's responsible for selection of the site. But the activation of the site, that this can be happen by the IT, supply, drug supply, training of the staff. Then we make contract with the site, and then the other thing we talk about, like approval by the health authorities and IRP. Contract with the site, like we have the contract with these people that are responsible for this site. So the first one, I just focus which is the site that is most important for me to do our purpose in a clinical trial, and then we do activation, and that is can be happen by the IT, by the drug supply, by making a contract with the site. Then we take approval by the health authorities and IRP. So we do site activation, site selection, and site activation. They are under the trial setup. Then we go to the conduct. Okay, the study conduct, the investigator responsible for the study conduct, like the patient inclusion, the patient treatment, and collecting of the data. What I mean exactly by the patient inclusion, like we have a criteria. If that participants or these patients is under this, okay, that you just have all the points that we have in the patient, so this is the patient inclusion. Then we do give him a treatment, and then we collect the data, and that is the responsibility actually of the investigator. And then we do close out. Then I will talk about the clinical research associate. If you think that the clinical research associate is an organization, no, it's actually a person, and this person has many responsibilities. So the first one of the clinical research associate, the first one is soft skill required. As we said, for an investigator, should have like medicine lessons, you should have medical lessons. For CV, you should have GCP training certificate, and experience in clinical trials, and these other things. Actually, the CRA, which is a clinical research associate, it should have soft skills required, like interpersonal relationship, teamwork, information analysis, problem solving. He should have this stuff, like he have ability to analyze information in a very well way. And the other thing that is problem solving, teamwork, interpersonal relationships. Like, I don't know how they can measure it, but we can measure it by the work. Okay. Then the other thing is monitoring of the trials. Like, he is responsible actually for monitoring and managing of the trial, like making a visit and seeing this stuff. So it's his responsibility. And another thing is appointed by the sponsor. Appointed by sponsor, like a sponsor, he choose him. Okay, because this clinical research associate, he just monitoring the trials, managing the trials, collecting the data. The most important thing for me is source data review, source data verification. This is the best. You have to say that, because it just like make a comparing between like a case report form and the original records of the patients. You're just making a compare, but what is present here, what they are collecting, how the data is here in the protocol, and how is it in the source data, just making a comparison. That's exactly what is a source data verification and source data review. And we say, I don't know if I said that before, the source data review is a broader term than the source data verification, because we just not focus on one thing, we're just making review of all these data. Okay, and the other thing that is Also assessing the trial documentation, like he see if how the documentation is occurring in the trial, checking informed consent forms, even if I said before IRP, okay, because that's important, because we want to check that or to send that also to um, like IRP or this stuff, this regulation, ensuring protocol compliance, ensure if there is a protocol compliance, also monitoring the patient safety. But you can just like, it helps the sponsor actually to collecting the data. Uh, but the most important thing, don't forget when he's just asking about everybody, if he's asking about what is the responsibilities, so what are the responsibilities of a clinical research associate, please write is as a source data verification to source data review. These are the most important thing to just mention. Beside that, you can say monitoring of the trial, managing of the trial, assessing the documentation of the trial. It's also a help in a soft, you can say that he should have a soft skill recovered, so important. Monitoring also of the patient safety, that's so important. Ensuring that there is a compliance of the protocol, checking the informed consent, and appointed by the sponsors. Again, I will just finish what are the responsibilities of a clinical trial associate, of a clinical research associate: source data verification, source data review, managing of the trial, monitoring of the trial, monitoring of the patient safety, assessing the documentation of the trial. Um, what else? It also the soft skills appointed by the sponsor, and ensuring the protocol compliance. So all these are the responsibilities of a clinical research associate. And then we go to the standard operating procedure, what we call is SOP. So S, that's mean a standard, O operating, P, that's mean a procedure, and they are required by GCP, GMP, GTP, and GLP. All these are required, or they are required, the SOP, which is called the standard operating procedure, the CGP, which is known as a good clinical practice, which is ICH E6R2. That's important thing. GMP, it's mean a good manufacturing practice. And before we said what is the good manufacturing practice, is the Q7, good manufacturing practice. You want to make sure about the good manufacturing here. It's a Q7, as you see, good manufacturing practice. Okay, so it's a Q7, and then okay, then we go to the sub, and then GDB, that's mean good distribution practice. All this P is a practice good, okay? Good distribution practice, also asking for the soap. And the other thing is called GLP, that's mean it's a good laboratory practice. As you can see here, that's they are required by the SOP. So SOP is a standard operating procedure. Standard operating procedures, what they are required by many things, like GCP, good clinical practice, GMP, it's good manufacturing practice, GLP, good laboratory practice, in GDP, good distribution practice. What are the functions of the SOPs? What they are doing actually, to be asked by this stuff. The first one is the standardizations of the tasks. Like, okay, let's why we start with the final one. We just start with the first one: identification of each person task. Like, you have to do this stuff and the list of the task. So identification of each person in this clinical trial, what is his task. That's why we call them standard operating procedures. Okay, and then describes actions to be completed. Like, okay, you are have a task, and then they will just describe what the actions should be completed. Guide to the temporary stuff. If there is a temporary stuff, like there is a people they are gone and there is another people instead of them, so like a guidelines of it, what is done, what is not done. It's responsible also for training of the staff. So it's a training of the staff, it's one of the functions of them. And the other thing is monitoring of the site performance. Is they adhere to the protocol or not adhere to the protocol. It's make monitoring. If there is mistakes, errors, just do it and corrected it. Ensure all the tasks are performed according to the regulation. As I said, monitoring of the site performance, you completely logic, you will think if these tasks are performed according to the regulation, and then the standardization of the task. So we understand now what is the standardization of the task. That's mean after I identify of each person task, and then I describe what is the action to be done or to be completed, and the guide for temporary staff training of the staff, monitoring of the site performance, ensures all the tasks are performed according to the regulations and the protocol. Then that's mean I make a standardizations of these tasks. The structure of the SOP, as you can see here, that is composed of header and then the purpose and then the responsibilities and then the instructions, procedures, references, appendix, which is the source document, like for example the case report form. These are what we call them the structures of the SOP. So it's composed of the header, which is composed of the title, dates of original, revision, and approval, then the purpose, then the responsibilities, then the instructions, the reference, the appendix. So these are the components of the structures of the SOP. Then I will talk about the investigator site file, that is the components of it. The first one is the study protocol and amendments, IP, which is known as investigation brochure, approval, sub-investigator qualification, the contract, delegation log, SOP, training log, deviation log, unapplied NK, communication CRA, screening log, patient information, informed consent, temperature log, drug accountability log, shipment log, drug dispensation log, and case report form. All they are present in the investigator site file. That's all for our lecture today. Hope you understand anything.